In this episode of Life After Ministry, we sit down with Holly Tate, the founder of the Ready Network and the former executive at some of the biggest names in ministry staffing and leadership development. You know, she knows what it's like to walk away from something successful, to be let go, and to start again. And this conversation, we talk about fear, clarity, courage, and what it looks like to see change not as a threat, but as a gift. It's an invitation to transformation. So if you've ever felt stuck, uncertain, or unsure if it's time to begin or to let go, then this one's for you. Hey, well, welcome to the Life After Ministry podcast. I woke up this morning and said, today's going to be a good day because I get to talk with Holly Tate. Holly.
Oh,
so good to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. That's very kind.
It's very true. I'm not even making that up. I'm excited to have you here. And our paths crossed years ago when I was in transition. It was my life after ministry, and I wasn't sure what my life was going to become. And I got flown out to Houston, and I got to go through a battery of interviews. And you were in one of those. I walked into a boardroom with you and Tim Stevens and Vanderbloemen and some other people, and didn't get the job. Isn't that fun?
Mm-hmm. I remember. Isn't that funny how you remember just random things? Like I remember that interview. I remember where we were sitting. I remember because that would have been, how long ago was that? Years.
6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I cry? I don't think I cried. I did it.
I don't remember you crying.
Okay, that's good.
I do remember that I think you wore a suit. I think. Did you? I think you did.
It might be the last time I wore a suit.
Yeah.
Well, Holly, you've had transitions of your own, and so I want to walk through some of those and kind of the life lessons, things you've learned in those transition seasons. But you also you're a people person. You've worked with people.
That is true.
And you've worked with people in transition. So I want to explore some of that, and then we'll finally get to what are you doing now, and how does that serve the world, but the church and businesses and just words that you might have for people who are in transition. So let's get a little bit of your story. You love people, you love leadership, and you love kind of shaping and directing. You don't sit still very well. You're a little bit like me. You have ants in your pants. But give me a little bit of that backstory.
It's funny. I've been asked that question before. Like, where did your passion for leadership development come from? And maybe one day, years from now, maybe I'll, write a book and have a really concise answer to that question, because I'm not really sure. I mean, I think back in everyone who, I think about like my parents or mentors who've known me for, since I was a kid, have always said that I was a natural leader, whatever that means. But like, I was the kid that was like hanging out with the teachers versus like the kids on the playground. And, or like in Girl Scouts, I have distinct memories of like sitting with the Girl Scout leaders talking about, whatever big topic of the day was versus like being out, playing with the girls. So I think I've always just been drawn to, I guess, to leaders and to leading people. The church that I grew up in was very big on leadership development. And so I'm really grateful for that. And I see that pattern. Like I look at the kids that were in the youth group at the same time, or a little bit older than me and at the same time as me. There was a big emphasis on leadership development through like the youth pastors that we had. And so I really think if I could go back, I really think that was what shaped it, was my youth group experience, which is just so, if you're a youth pastor out there listening to this, you have massive influence on the kids that you're leading. Because I can't remember what it was called, but it was like, Student Leadership University, SLU. That's what it was called.
Okay.
And so we had like a whole tract that we went through. And anyway, so I think, maybe it was just like how God naturally wired me, and then being blessed enough to have leaders who really, cared about that and saw that in me and other students in the youth group and really helped cultivate that. And then, I'm thinking about like in high school, like we had FCA. I was leader of the FCA. We had, I'm trying to think of other opportunities where I was able to like practice those leadership gifts. And then I didn't like seek that out as a career. My first job after college was selling national radio advertising, like literally making cold calls to try to sell people radio packages, which is how I originally met William Vanderbloemen, because I cold called him
Mm.
to try to sell him radio advertising. And I told my boss, like, I think he's going to buy. And then he didn't. So I must have been a terrible salesperson because he didn't buy it, but he offered me a job.
Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah. And I think I was just drawn to the mission of like the difference that he was trying to make in the world, which is, the corporate world has so many resources and tools and insights into how to hire the right people. But the church, his big passion was like, the church doesn't have that. And I want to create that. And I was really drawn to that. I thought, yeah, what a massive difference we could make if we could help churches and ministries hire the right people so that then they can make the impact in the world that they want to.
So when you're at Vanderbloemen, you guys have a massive database there, and there's a steady stream of people going through. And I'm trying to think through like the person who's looking for the job. They're trying to put themselves out there. What were some of the characteristics or the traits of people coming through who are in a season of transition, thinking about transition? Like, how do you know out of 50 people that could do the job, like what are the ones that you start to push forward as like, here are the people that you need to look at? They might be coming into a place where they might not have the skill set, but did they have something else that you guys said like, okay, this is a hireable type of a quality?
Yeah. Well, it really depended on the role because the roles we were doing were and that's what's so unique about the church world. Like in a typical staffing agency or executive search firm, it's like, here's the job description for, let's take, for example, like a VP of marketing. It's like, for the most part, those skills and abilities are going to be transferable between organizations. Like, yes, there might be some knowledge that you have to learn on the job if there's a specific industry or specialization that company focuses on. But in ministry, because of the theological component, it's so nuanced. So you can have two, like going back to youth pastors, just as an example, you can have two job descriptions, or maybe I should say like one job description that like really when you get into who is the right fit for that church or that ministry, there's so many things that are not on paper that you have to look for to make sure that it's the right fit from a theological perspective, from a leadership perspective, with the way the governance is set up at that ministry or at that church. Like, whereas like you don't have those nuances in the corporate world. Typically, that's not to say that's a generalization, but typically it's like, yeah, we've got a board of directors, we've got a CEO, we've got an executive team, we've got a manager, whereas in the church world, it can just be so different depending on the governance or the denomination or the theology, the mission, all of that. And so anyway, I just say all of that because that's so important that it's not just about what's on the job description and the resume that the person has. There are so many other nuances that go into it that make it more complex. And so, but that aside, and this might feel so cliche, but it's so true, which is just emotional intelligence. Does this person have humility? Do they understand what their blind spots are? Can they own their strengths and live into that, not with ego, but with confidence in who God has called them to be? Those are the things that you're really looking for, is most everything else can be taught or can be acquired through experience. But it's really hard to teach or change character issues or emotional intelligence issues. And so those are really, I would say that's like more of the art to team building or hiring. That is the fun part, but is also the really difficult part.
Yeah. It's interesting because you could have the skill set of being a good speaker, a team builder, but if theologically you don't believe in transubstantiation, then you're out. It's just not a fit, right? So all of a sudden you find yourself you're just gone. It doesn't work.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so then you move into a group called Leadr without the second E, and I love when companies you just take out vowels just randomly and. It's a new company all of a sudden. But you go into the world of people development.
Yes.
So tell me about what that looks like and the problem that that's solving in the world.
Yeah. So for me, from a personal perspective with transition, that was, the hardest transition yet in my, almost 15 years, I guess, of my career or vocation. Because I'd been at Vanderbloemen for 8.5 years and could have done the job for another 8.5, but I just realized that, I was looking to be challenged in different ways. And it was 2020 too, which was not only a really difficult time for the business and everyone in church because the world shut down, churches shut down.
Mm.
But also I think for many of us, myself was, very self-reflective. What do I want, life to look like? I know you went through a massive transition in 2020, moving your whole family into a different state. We were just talking about that. But so I joined a coaching group, which led me to, it was like a third reflecting backwards, a third looking at the tools and resources I had in front of me, and then a third planning for the future. And that led me to build my business plan for my company, the Ready Network.
Mm.
So I went through all this, that internal turmoil of like, should I do this? Should I not? All of the things that go into that. And decided to do that. And so filed my LLC, built the website, all of the things. And then the CEO, he was not the CEO at the time, but the CEO of Leadr and I met up for coffee. And he was like, I would like to offer you a job to come join us at Leadr. And I was like, seriously, Lord? Like, I've literally been praying for this for like a year for you to like show me what my next step is.
Yeah.
I go through this whole rigmarole of like filing my LLC and being very excited about starting my business. And now this person is sitting on the other side of this coffee, meeting from me and offering me a role. So anyway, I said, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm starting my company, but you guys can become a client and we can see how this works and if we think it's a good fit. And so got to serve lots of different organizations in 90 days, but ultimately decided to join Leadr full time. They upped the ante, gave me an amazing opportunity.
Mm.
So I was there for 4 years. And, to your point, Matt, I think when you're in transition, it is so hard to see the forest through the trees. I mean, but then you look back and you're like, oh, God was building everything upon each other, right? So like I couldn't have done the job at Leadr had I not had the experience at Vanderbloemen. And then I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I now realize, and it's just a reminder that like the Lord is guiding our steps and we just have to be courageous enough to take those steps. I don't know about you, but like I've prayed for clarity so much in my life. And then looking back, I'm like, the clarity was there. I just didn't have the guts to step forward into it,
Mm.
And, so anyway, yeah. So Leadr was, sorry, I got really self-reflective there, but let's talk about like the business of Leadr. It was a tech company founded by the co-founder and then a former employee and executive leader at PushPay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really drawn to the mission of developing 1 million leaders. So that was like my kind of, what's the word for that? Like, motivator for like, man, there's a word I'm looking for that I'm missing. It's like, not philanthropic, but like the feel good motivator, like what motivates.
Like altruism or like.
Yeah. Or esoteric. Is that the right word?
Oh, that's a too big word for
me too. I'm like, I feel like that. I don't know. I'll have to look it up later. But anywho, that was my, like altruistic motivator, I guess, mission motivator. But then from a personal development perspective, I knew that I would end up better on the other end of Leadr. And I remember talking to Jenny Catron. I called her because I was like really torn. Like, I just started this business. Am I giving up on my own thing to join Leadr full time? And she was like, Holly, you can always go back to do your own thing, but you will be challenged and sitting at a seat, at a table with people who have been farther along than you. And so whether you do it for a year or forever, and so that was really the conversation that helped seal the deal for me to join them full time. So I was able to, part of my joining them full time, I was able to still work with a couple of clients that I really wanted to hold on to. And I'm really grateful for that because then 4 years later, when I transitioned to doing the Ready Network, my company full time again, which was just this past, kind of February to April, I wasn't starting from complete scratch, which was really, really helpful. It's a software to help managers be better leaders and really develop their people. Because when you develop your people, performance takes care of itself. So we launched into the church market, and then we expanded to, companies and really any organizations that were interested in making their managers better leaders. So, and then left Leadr in February, and it took a month to try not to do anything. You said this at the beginning. I don't sit still very well, but didn't do work. But I had lots of walks with friends, lots of coffee meetings, and then April 1st started taking on clients for the Ready Network, and I'm doing that full time now, building my own company. So
you're really still in the very beginning stages of even though you started this a couple of years ago. You're beginning again, and it's never, and I talk to a lot of people that are. It's scary to start your own thing, right? And I've started my own thing several times, and I'm still alive, but it's a scary thing to jump into, and you're not. It's kind of funny you call it the Ready Network, but you kind of have to do it even though you're not ready.
Matt, did you read my email this morning? I think I sent it out like right as we were jumping onto this podcast, because so literally, I'm trying to pull it up because it's exactly what you just said. The title of the email that I sent out this morning was "The hardest part is starting, but I did it anyway." And then at the end, and I basically say like, here's 3 things I did in the last couple of months that I did scared. Because I was at an event where Brene Brown was speaking here in Houston I guess it was like a month ago. And she said that you have to have the courage to show up even when you can't control the outcome. And her whole thing is like, show up scared, show up vulnerable. And so I kind of said 3 things that I did scared. And then I literally said starting. Oh, wait, what?
Don't go past that though. Let's do this. Like what are the 3 things?
Sending the email to say, hey, I'm doing something new. Here it is, and invite people into that process. The second one was launching a podcast with literally 0 plan. So I launched a podcast called Seth Said What. It's with my brother. It's a daily podcast.
It's not Seth Said What. It's Seth Said What?
Seth Said What? Yeah. My brother texted me. We both love Seth Godin, who, if you don't follow him or aren't subscribed to his email, highly recommend it. Yeah. He's just the challenger of the status quo. He started in marketing, but he's so much more than that. He just challenged you to think differently about everything. And anyway, he was like, wouldn't it be funny if we started a podcast where we just riff daily on Seth's blog? And I was like, let's do it. And so yeah, that's, again, I could go into that, but that was another thing that we did. And then
don't go to number 3 just yet, because I've been listening. I'm a fan. And by the way, yes, subscribe to Seth. Look, when you're in ministry, you're thinking like, I got to subscribe and follow like what was Rick Warren saying and Craig Groeschel, all these, but like get some perspective and like what's happening outside of. It's okay for you as a pastor, as an executive director of a nonprofit to like get some outside thoughts, right? And so Seth Godin is a phenomenal person. And just to hear you and your brother riff, and it is totally unprofessional. There's no music, there's no bumper. It's like we caught you in the middle of a conversation, and it's great. And by the way, I came prepared. I have a Seth Godin quote for you. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. And it's along the lines of, the podcast here, but he said, change is not a threat, it's an opportunity. Survival is not the goal. Transformative success is.
I mean, we could just stop the podcast right there, and just delete everything I've said, and just you saying that quote is all anyone needs to hear.
And by the way, I'm glad that I've already quoted like the Bible and Joseph in Genesis, because some people would say, you guys are quoting Seth Godin and he's not even a Bible character. So at least we got the Bible in there. But yes, change is not a threat. It's an opportunity. But it's almost that thing of like, this is happening to me. Well, that's the threat, right? But no, it's an opportunity that's happening for me. But survival is not the goal. Like, how am I going to survive this season, this situation? Well, that's not the goal. That's not the end. It's like, how do I transform and come out of that?
Yes.
There's some gold there. Good job.
So, it's so true. I mean, that is, this is so funny, Matt, because my perspective now, so I have a 16-month-old, my first kid, and she loves the book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which I love because that was one of my favorite books when I was a kid. And so I just love that she was naturally drawn to it. But I think about the end, which is usually where she gets bored in the story. Like that's usually where she wants to like go and play with a different toy or whatever. But the part about where, he ate the green leaf and then he had a stomach, or he was finally full, right? And then he goes into the cocoon and then comes out a butterfly. And I know this is probably so cheesy, but like every time I read that book to her, like I think about that, like what you're saying and what Seth is saying there, where it's like the transformation and like a caterpillar to a butterfly is just such a tangible example of that like that's what it's about, is like not staying a caterpillar, but becoming a butterfly. And I know I'm rolling my eyes as I'm hearing myself talk, but
no, it's good.
It's true. And it's the hard work. And it's hard work. Today's episode was about, Seth had a hot take that like, basically he kind of was like, I'm reducing it, but basically like everything in life is a lottery kind of. He talked a lot about like luck, and Daniel and I were discussing, do we agree or disagree with that? And I'm just a big fan of like, and yes, as believers, like we believe in God's sovereignty, and that like that is a whole nother dynamic of like God's sovereignty versus luck. That could be a whole nother podcast. Right. But I just really believe in like, whether you call it God's sovereignty or happenstance or luck, but the thing that's like out of our control, but the thing that is in our control is that hard work to seek transformation in ourselves so that we can have the impact that God wants us to on others. It's so key. And to go back to your original question, like that's the characteristic that the people who are willing to be transformed, like that is a character trait in and of itself, the willingness to want to be transformed, because there are a lot of people who want to stay the way they are.
Comfortable. Yeah. It's good. I love it. This is good. I'm thinking through and processing some things. That it's helpful though. All right, so we have two of the three things. I keep interrupting you, but that's good. I have to. So you sent an email scared.
Yep.
And number two, you started something new.
Mm-hmm.
You started the podcast.
Scared and unprepared. Mm-hmm.
And unprepared. That's right. And I still listen and I enjoy it. By the way, it doesn't need all the production.
Thank you. Yeah, that's kind of my kind of what I'm testing is like. Yeah. And we haven't had, people are really enjoying, I think, the raw, unproduced thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the third one is my Ready Framework certification. So basically, it was like that month where I was supposed to not be doing anything, like sitting in the silence of my house, and which hasn't happened in like 16 months to just sit in my house in silence. And I felt like God was like, grab your journal, Holly. And I just started writing. And I feel like he gave me the framework, like kind of a codifying what I've done intuitively for about 15 years so that I can teach others how to do that. And so it's a framework that I'm still kind of struggling with how to, maybe I should book a session with you, Matt, and you can help me with this because you're so good at it. But I'm calling it a planning process. But it's really just a 5-stage process to help you go from stuck to unstuck, or chaos to clarity. And so whether you're an executive team that is wanting to grow, or maybe you're growing and it's pure chaos and you're trying to sort through how to have sustainable growth, or whether you're an individual through change or transition or whatever that might be in your own life, it's a process to help you gain clarity. The clarifying process, maybe that's what I should call it. But so I'm certifying other leaders, coaches who want to add the framework to their toolkit. And so that fills me with so much joy. I told my husband after we did the first one in May that if I could do that every day, I would just be on cloud 9, because it is so life-giving for me to help equip and train other people to help other people.
Yeah. So what does that look like? So what kind of person is going to show up? And even like somebody who's in transition, trying to figure out like, what are they doing? And their life feels a little bit chaotic, right? What kind of person do you feel like you can help? And then what does that look like kind of in a session? What was the thing that sparked you in that?
Yeah. So what's interesting is I originally thought that it would be coaches, like people who are coaches or consultants that are looking for an additional toolkit. And that is because those are the people who, in the beginning, I've done 2 certifications so far. Our next one is in August. And so those are the people like I sought out to say, hey, I think I originally started with an email to 10 people that were all in like some sort of coach or consultant. But what we learned through the process is even several of the coaches are in a place of transformation themselves, whether it's like their business, like they're trying to grow their business or change their business, or they're going through a career transition. They all were like, yeah, this is actually really helpful for me personally. So I am currently working on what it would look like to like create like a course where individuals could go through it for themselves. So currently thinking through that, but yeah, we start with R is reality check. So I think sometimes for myself included and the people that I help coach, sometimes we're struggling to even separate facts and feelings of where we are right now. So like to really get to the reality of like, where are we really? So that's the first part of the process. And then we go into an evaluation stage where I have a tool that I use to help assess how did we get to where we are really? What's led us to get there? And what's working, what's not working from in that. And then A is an action plan. So out of the evaluation stage, we usually end up with, for an individual, it's usually one priority. For a team, it's usually 3 priorities that we build an action plan around. And because, we can identify how and why we're stuck, but if we don't build an action plan to move forward, we're going to stay stuck. So that's the A. And then D is delegation. So this is where, in my almost 15 years now, seeing lots of different teams and organizations, I'll see people or organizations spend months on strategic plans, and they're awesome. But they're stuck in a PDF because they haven't delegated authority and responsibility with who's doing what by when. I'm working with an organization right now. They've had a strategic plan for 2 years, and it's great, but they haven't made progress because they didn't assign owners to who was responsible for moving those things forward. So that's the delegation piece.
Yep.
And then why this one is really important for ministry, because I see this all too. Most ministries are led by very visionary leaders, and I'm one of them. So I'll be the first to say, like, I think I created the Y is for Yes Barometer. I created it for myself, I think, more than anybody else. But we state from the beginning in this process that there's a Yes Barometer, that we're going to hold ourselves accountable to any new idea or initiative that comes our way while we're working through this action plan. We got to run it through this Yes Barometer. And if it helps us achieve our action plan, double down on it, go for it, do it. We should absolutely seize the day on that. But if it detracts from our action plan, we should probably pause. Because unfortunately, I see a lot of ministries get tripped up with that visionary leader. They're changing their mind every week. And yeah, it's whiplash. The team is exhausted, and they then don't trust the leader, because they're like, yeah, sure, you're excited about this thing this month, but in next month's all staff, it's going to be something else.
Right.
So there's this cynicism and jadedness that comes in ministry because that visionary leader hasn't followed through on that vision. And so that's what the Yes Barometer is all about, is just really trying to hold them and the team accountable to moving forward on what we've committed to. So that's the Ready framework. And I love it. And I love telling people about it.
That's great. I love, you are very much in the beginning of a season. And I think what I want people to hear is that you can start something. And we oftentimes say that done is better than perfect. And you're never going to have the perfect website and all of the words. You're never going to be totally ready. Like even like, just the simple, like life prepares you. We were not ready to have kids when we had kids, and kids just get you ready, right? And if you find yourself reading The Hungry Caterpillar, and
Yeah.
your 16-month is looking at you saying, "Daddy, why are you crying?" And,
Exactly.
time for you to go to sleep. Shut up.
That's so true.
But it's about taking that next step, and the people who are doing it, I think there's very few who are just bold, gregarious, and they're not scared at all, right? Unless they just have money to burn and it doesn't matter. They're just going to start something new. But like a lot of
But they're still scared. I mean, I can say from experience working with people with lots of money, they're still scared. I think honestly, that's like a whole nother podcast. I feel like I've said that 5 times now. Maybe we should just start a podcast, Matt. But
you'll say, Holly said what?
Yeah, Holly said what? That's the founder's dilemma, or I think they're often the most scared, even though they don't show it, because they're having to sacrifice everything that they've built in order to go to that next level. And it's really scary.
Holly, this has been everything and more. Thank you for vulnerability. Thank you for sharing your story. Hopefully we get to keep most all of it in here. We'll do a check on that here afterwards and you'll see.
Yeah.
But
Well,
go ahead.
I wanted to share one thing because you touched on this a minute ago. And so like I put at the end of the email, I said, starting scared is kind of the whole point of the Ready Network. What if you're never fully ready? What if you become ready by doing? So, yeah.
That's good. I like that. That's good. It's really good. I'll have to read it when we're done here. But that's good. I want people to be in your world and in your zone, and even just people looking for clarity and they might not feel like they're ready. What are those questions? Are you ready to take the next step? And that might be a step out. It might be a step up. It might be a step away. I don't know what that looks like for you, wherever you're at and you're listening, but I know for a fact that Holly's a good person to talk to and process through. And so how do people get in touch?
Yeah.
Or even just get your email to start with, but like
totally.
You have some good stuff going on.
Thank you. Yeah, thereadynetwork.com. And my email is holly@thereadynetwork.com.
Easy.
On social media, it's at The Ready Network. So that's where you can find us.
That's good. Well, Holly, thank you for jumping on the Life After Ministry podcast, and you're doing it. And thank you for your voice, not only in my life. Thank you for saying no to me that I wasn't ready. Vanderbloemen. It's so funny that I'm friends with all of you guys in one of those seasons, and believe it or not, the guy that you said yes to is going to be on the podcast here pretty soon. We're going to have a
Oh my gosh, that's amazing! I love it.
But God can take some of these moments that feel like I'm not sure how I'm going to come out of this. I don't know what's next, and this is happening to me, and God, this is also happening for me, and so I just appreciate your wisdom here, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Matt. You're doing amazing work and helping so many people. So thank you for leading these conversations because they are very needed.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So there's a moment in every leader's journey when they have to choose. Will I stay stuck or take the next step, even if I'm scared? And so this conversation with Holly, it's reminding us that you don't have to be fully ready to begin again. Sometimes you need to just send the email. Sometimes you need to launch the thing, ask the question, or say yes, even when you feel like it's not enough or you're not enough. But the readiness often comes in the doing. So if you're in a season of transition or you're walking along someone who is in transition, then we want to help. At Ministry Transitions, we support leaders and churches and nonprofits through the most vulnerable moments of change so that your community can multiply, not divide. And if you are someone who cares deeply about the well-being of ministry leaders, then we invite you, partner with us financially. You can give a donation, and that will help to provide care and coaching and practical support for ministry leaders who are in transition. So get in touch, listen to more episodes, share this with somebody who might need to hear it, and be sure to check out Holly's work at The Ready Network. Clarity is on the other side of courage. Thanks for listening.